1988, I travelled to Peru in South America, where I spent several months in the heart of the Amazon rainforest on a reserve called Tambopata. I spent my time there taking photographs, making sound recordings and learning first-hand about the rainforest. In my journal, I kept a detailed record of my experience. I took the opportunity to illustrate much of what I saw, and I collected mementos of specimens like these leaves. Sometimes I'd find bright-coloured bird feathers scattered across the forest floor, and the wings of butterflies. This wing is from the giant blue morpho butterfly. Rainforests are the richest ecosystems on Earth, home to 50% of all living things. But even as I speak, around the world rainforests are being destroyed for short-term financial gain. In this series of programs, I will explain the complex nature of rainforest ecology, why they are being destroyed, and the devastating effect that this is having on the environment, and also conservation projects which are trying to save the rainforest from disappearing from our Earth forever. Rainforests grow in the tropical zone, in the lowlands where the climate is warm and wet all the year round. 57% of the world's remaining rainforests are in South America. The Amazon rainforest is the largest continuous area of rainforest in the world, covering parts of Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, the eastern lowlands of Peru and Bolivia, and a large area of Brazil. Tambopata Reserve is in the Madre de Dios district of Peru, close to the Bolivian border. Peru is a country with a very diverse geography and climate. The entire coastline, from Ecuador to Chile, is barren desert. The desert leads up to the foothills of the Andes, which run the entire length of South America, with mountains rising above 6,000 meters. Here, the great Inca civilization built its sacred cities, like Machu Picchu, high in the Andes of Peru. Peru also has the highest lake in the world. Lake Titicaca's 8,000 square kilometers of fresh water lies at an altitude of 3,800 meters above sea level. Here on islands, communities of people still lead a traditional way of life. On the eastern side of the Andes is the start of the Amazon lowland rainforest. My first impression was one of tremendous humidity. Humidity levels never drop below 75% here, and temperatures are constantly hot, around 32 degrees. The only way to reach Tambopata Reserve is by boat. The reserve is about 4.5 hours upriver from Puerto Maldonado, where we landed. This was my first view of the rainforest, dense vegetation hugging the riverbanks. Early explorers thought the forest was impenetrable, but it is only like this along the river's edges where there is more light. The forest interior is quite dark, so fewer plants can grow, and you can move around quite easily. As we travelled, it began to get dark. Although only about 20 square miles in size, Tambopata Reserve is an important conservation area of outstanding biological diversity, home to world record numbers of species, 580 bird species, and 1,200 butterfly species, and rare and endangered animals like the jaguar, bush dog, ocelot, black caiman, harpy eagle, and giant river otter. It is also a centre for scientific research and tourism. Scientists and visitors may stay on the reserve in these traditionally built jungle huts in a small clearing. The reserve is a unique in-situ rainforest awareness centre, educating visitors from all over the world about rainforests. Here, a fellow naturalist and friend, Mark Cole, is working with the aid of Pancho, a free-flying blue and gold macaw. He seems to like Mark's company. One of his favourite tricks was to crack open felt-tip pens with his powerful bill. Mark is an experienced rock climber and used his skills to climb high into the trees to build observation platforms. The majority of rainforest life goes on in the canopy, but has been little studied because it is so inaccessible. Mark hoped to help remedy this. Once in the treetops, he would build a platform made of a single strip of aluminium, 1 foot wide and 10 foot long, tied on with wire. He'd then fix a rope, so all subsequent ascents could be made using special ascender clamps fixed onto the rope. It looks hair-raising, but really it's easy, as even I managed to do it. The view across the rainforest canopy was spectacular. Mark has since been invited to build tree platforms in the rainforests of Africa's Ivory Coast, enabling scientists to study life in the canopy there for the first time, and to help film this life for the BBC. The canopy is the roof of the forest formed by the interlocking crowns of trees. Occasionally, rising high above the canopy is a tall emergent tree like the one in the distance. The rainforest may be described as structured in layers from canopy to ground level, each layer forming a distinct habitat where specific plants and animals live. The structure occurs because of the difference in climate between the canopy and ground level. The canopy experiences the full intensity of the tropical sun and rain, so the leaves of the trees are small to minimize water loss through evaporation, and thick to minimize the leaching effect of the heavy rain. It is much hotter and less humid than the forest interior, allowing cactus-like plants to grow, like the one in the top right-hand corner. The canopy is home to the majority of rainforest life, and many animals, for instance these squirrel monkeys, spend their entire lives here and seldom go down to the ground. They feed on the canopy's abundant supply of fruits and leaves. A special feature of New World monkeys are prehensile tails, which they use as an extra limb to help them climb through the trees. The largest of the New World monkeys are these red howler monkeys. The black hawk eagle and other eagles like the harpy eagle patrol the canopy in search of birds and small mammals, which is why many smaller monkeys, like these marmosets, prefer to live lower down in the subcanopy and understory. We often used to watch troops of monkeys move through the understory by leaping skillfully from tree to tree. Young monkeys run their greatest risk for mortality when they first start to practice these daring leaps. The majority of rainforest insects live in the canopy. This is a tiger bug. This leaf katydid is camouflaged to look like a leaf, but even so it may still fall prey to the numerous tree frogs and lizards. Lizards in turn provide food for the colourful toucans, which also feed on fruits, nuts and nestling birds. This is a taco toucan. An emerald toucanet, saffron toucanet. Numerous species of parrot live in the canopy, also feeding on fruits and nuts. Parrots are very noisy, gregarious birds. Macaws are the largest members of the parrot family. These are blue and gold macaws. It was very exciting watching these wild birds flying noisily across the forest. These macaws are mobbing a black vulture. Black vultures patrol the canopy, using a keen sense of smell to find food. In spite of its interesting nose, the much larger and rarer king vulture has a poor sense of smell, and relies instead on following the other vultures, then frightening them away to steal their food. The forest interior is very different. It is cooler, more humid and much darker. Only about 2% of the light filters down here from the canopy. The plants and animals here are adapted to these different conditions. The plant's leaves are large and thin to expose a maximum surface area to light and nutrients as it filters down through the forest. The leaves have special pointed drip tips to drain surface water, which would otherwise become infested with algae. Many plants compete for light by climbing up other plants and trees, like this monstera, or cheese plant, which is often kept as a house plant in this country. In the rainforest it grows by climbing up trees high into the understory. Giant vines called lianas climb up trees, forming a tangled network between ground and canopy. Lianas compete with their host trees for light and nutrients, and their sheer weight puts an added strain on the host tree. They are very strong and formed a natural system of ropeways which Mark would often use to help him climb high into the treetops. Peccary live on the forest floor. Like wild boar, they can be dangerous and have been known to gang up on people which they find in the forest. Fortunately, however, they have a very strong, distinctive smell which warns of their presence. Peccary may be preyed on by the puma, one of the largest ground-dwelling predators. We often used to find paw marks of these big cats on the trails which they use to move swiftly through the forests. The largest big cat in South America is the jaguar. This is a rare black jaguar. Jaguar are now an endangered species because people trap them for their valuable pelts. Although illegal, every year thousands of spotted cats are killed and their pelts sold on the black market to supply the fur trade. The beautiful ocelot is also endangered, as is Jeffroy's cat. Campaigning groups like Lynx and Greenpeace have made the public very aware of not only the cruelty involved in turning wild animals into fur coats, but also that this inhumane exploitation has pushed several species to the brink of extinction. But the fur trade is still a big business in many countries. For instance, in Japan, where amongst the wealthy spotted cat furs are still the height of fashion. Bush dogs are very rare, shy animals, occasionally sighted on Tamapata Reserve. More commonly seen are anteaters, which climb trees to raid termites' nests. Tapir have pointed snouts, designed for rummaging on the ground for food. Unlike their relatives the rhinoceros, tapir are quite gentle animals, which may even be reared as pets. The armadillo has a similar shaped snout, and with seemingly very poor eyesight, relies on literally following its nose through the forest. Both tapir and armadillo are hunted for food by local people. This baby armadillo, however, felt quite safe and just fell asleep in Mark's hand.